and then I'll continue to talk, and then we can introduce each other a little later. So this Tuesday, they had a meetings how to buy one of the, who doesn't know what the broker lawyer commission is from TREC? Okay, we should all know. Okay, so that's part of our training, part of our licensing process. If you want to get your license, you got to go through all these forum trainings and legal updates and blah, blah, blah. But everything TREC has that's pushing out, they have to go through this broker lawyer committee. And this is, they have 13 members, you know, how many brokers, how many lawyers, I'm not going to repeat that. But one of the lawyers, his name is Brian, let me pull that up. Okay, I forgot his last name. So he actually held this training on Tuesday. So basically, I'm just going to show you all the screenshots that I got from him. So it's a little, it's a little rough because it's all just screenshots. Let me see which one. I can't even see the number there. Oh, this one. Okay. Yeah, I'll pull it over here. Okay. Do you know if I can do a screen, like a slideshow of this folder? I think there's a way to do a slideshow. Maybe I'll just, hold on. Let me just select all. I have to look at that. Where is select? Can't see it. Oh, select all. Yeah. Just select all. Oh, it's actually over there. Select all. Okay, and then I think there's a way to open.
Their picture, you just be quiet and there's a small arrow automatically. You don't have to do a slideshow.
Oh, I see. I see. I see. I will just go to the next. Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It came up this way. I'm gonna move this here. Oh, okay. There we go. It looks like a slideshow, huh? So it's cheating. It's from the screenshots. I literally was driving and listening to this and doing screenshots every screen. So we're just gonna go through this. So his name is Brian Watts. He's one of the attorneys in the broker lawyer committee, and he was the one who came out to do this training. It's very, very important. We hear it from him. However, because a lot of people couldn't be there, and I was actually in the middle of something else too, but I just, captured the screenshot so that we can teach to our agents in our group so that we can at least capture the changes. At least we know what's out there. There might be things we're still learning in the next maybe a couple months. And also based on Brian, he said, these are not final. So they're still changing. So we need to kind of adapt quickly. We need to be the quick learner here. If you're not a quick learner before, you got to be it now. You got to be a quick learner now because we got to learn this right now and use it because it's already effective and we're mandated to use 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so we got to use this and we got to be prepared because it's going to change again. So let's look at this one. And where does it go to next? Oh, here. Is this one? There. Okay. So what he's saying is that there are lots of changes, but they're important and they're positive. That's what he says. I'm just repeating what he says. So this is just a little bit of background, and it was the broker lawyer committee, did a final recommendation in October and adopted by TREC in November, and but they were really released. They're really released in December, and a lot of people didn't know. I didn't even see the forms until December, and a lot of people, because of the holidays, they just didn't notice the changes at all until January. We actually had team members in our team use the forms this January, because when you go to Zip form, when you pull up the contract, now the contract is the new form. There are things that they're like, what's this, Teresa? I never seen this before. What do I do? So this is what we're doing. We're going to change. We're going to learn, and we're going to do this together, and we'll try to do this. Okay, so this is what he's saying. This is the timeline, and there's some disclaimers, and basically all the lawyers does that. Okay, this is what we did. This is what we teach you, but don't blame us for it. However, we just have to do it. So existing forms, there are these existing forms, unimproved, one, two family, non, a new home, contract, one, two, so all of these forms have changed. And there's some revised forms. We're not gonna have enough time to go through all of them. So we're gonna focus on the 1 to 4 family. We're not even gonna touch the new homes. If we had enough time, I will go into a little bit about the unimproved property. So we're only gonna go through the top two. And I'm not gonna go through it in that order. We're gonna go to 1 to 4 family first, and then we'll touch upon a little bit about the unimproved, because that's a significant change to the unimproved contract. Because personally, I just run into the issue exactly what they're tackling. I wish they had that changes last year, like last November, then I wouldn't have run into it. However, I did run into it before they made the change. Now they changed it. Good timing, but bad timing too. So that was important, and I want to, if we had time, we'll do that. And addendum for 1031 exchange. If you don't do a lot of 1031 exchange, it's okay. Then we'll learn about that later too. But it's very small change. And there's some non-track changes. These are actually important. I am going to talk about these when we go through the 1 to 4 family, because it's part of the 1 to 4 family. So I will talk about this. And this is very important. Does anyone who doesn't know what T47 is? Raise your hand. It's okay. Don't be shy. Okay, T47 is very important. So we'll talk about it. Yeah, sorry, did I say January 7th? It's January 3rd. So it's already started. Did I say 2 weeks ago? It's almost 3 weeks now. Okay. So amended, it's mandatory. So keep in mind that it's mandatory. We have to use the new form. Okay, we have to use the new forms. Where's the little next thing? Oh, maybe that's it. Okay, that was one folder. Let me exit from there. Okay, I think that might be the last slide on this one. Yes, that was last one. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, which is this one. Okay, so it's basically the same slide that he just added some links there. No need to write down these links now. I will send it to you in our group, and you can just go TREC website. TREC website has all of these. The good thing about the website is not only it has the new form to go through, but also it has the red line forms. Has anyone has not seen the red line forms? So in the past, okay, not these particular ones, but in the past, whenever TREC has new updates to the forms, they will release a set of called redlined forms. Basically, they will have the old form and the new form in the same document. They'll just redline the changes, which is those are really helpful. So I highly recommend you, after this class, go to this website, get to the new forms, and go to the red line. The red lines are very important. However, if you're new to this industry, if you just got your license, or you don't even know what the old form look like, you don't need to read the red lines. The reason why we read the red line forms, because we had done the old form for so many years. We already memorized this line, this line, this line, this line, and these red line forms will tell us, oh, wait a minute, we can't use this line anymore because we have to change to a new one. But if you don't have any idea what the old forms are, you don't need to read that. So these are the difference between these two forms. There. Okay, so check which form is being used in your deal. So you do need to make sure that you're using the new forms. However, the zip forms, that software, if we go to, Netrus and you pull up the form, it makes it easier for you because when you use, unless you use your template, if you have a template, hopefully, I haven't tried myself, but you can try it and let me know. I don't know if you all tried it. If you have an old template, it's possible the template still had the old form. You want to make sure that you use the new one. However, if you're creating a new transaction in zip form, then automatically it will give you the new form. So you don't have to worry about it. So what I would do is I highly recommend that you go through all your existing templates. Make sure that all your templates are using the new form. Update your templates so that when you apply your template to your new transactions, you are already confident about the forms that you're using. You're not using the old form. Because sometimes when we're in a hurry, we just like drag the old template and forgot to change. And then guess what? You're going to use the new old form if it's not changed. So make sure you go through all your templates and just sit down and make sure all the new forms are there. Oh, okay. I'll just. Okay, so this is just he's trying to tell the audience, say, what should you do? Listen, learn. This is why we're here. We're here to listen and learn, and we need to actually use the new forms. Okay, do you understand this? We need to know which ones are using and make sure that you use it. Again, make sure that you use the templates, you update your templates and read. That's what he says. It's like you gotta read. You can't skip it. There's no shortcuts. You have to read. Make sure you read the forms inside out from to back. First letter to the last. So make sure you read it. So that's important. Okay, so this is just showing you how the right-lined forms are notated. Basically, it says that the deleted text is in red and the added texts are in blue. So now we're going to the 124 family contract. Oh, he's just saying there's some changes, there's some grammar changes and there's some, these are not that significant. Okay, so now we're going into 124 family. So how many paragraphs in the 124 family contract? Does anyone know? It's okay, I'll tell you later. So in our group, we used to quiz people. You got to remember how many paragraphs there are in the 124 family. And sometimes when we come in, we try to do at least 4 times a year to do the 124 family contract training. And every time I'll quiz you, I will ask you, what's paragraph 4? What's paragraph 6? What's paragraph 9? What's paragraph 20? You got to remember these because these are important. And when I drive on the road, I will get a call from a client saying, oh, Teresa, what happened here? I say, okay, tell me which page, which paragraph. I'll tell you why. And I already know what he's talking about, and I can explain it to him or her on the phone, even when you're driving. But you have to know. You have to know your contract by heart, inside out. So paragraph 4, let's do this. This is easy change. I'm just gonna say it. It's added, it's there. Something about the geothermal that we may or may not run into it until maybe 3 or 4, 5 years later. Because right now, I don't know if you remember, about 10 years ago, Tarrant County has a huge wave of people signing the natural gas leases. And then everybody is transferring the mineral rights, or some people are reserving the mineral rights on the land just because they have a lease on the natural gas under their property. But right now we're that requirement is dying because most of the land, either they have it or they don't. There's no point of transferring or not transferring. So it's not that important anymore. However, it's a new wave of geothermal is coming. Basically, it's saying there's some like sort of like a hot spring type of deal that the underground heating resources is being discovered in the North Texas area, and some resource energy companies are trying to extract that heating resources out under your property, basically. but it's coming. However, I don't think it's very common right now. So don't worry about it too much. Just know that this is new. Oh, by the way, if you have questions, stop me. I talk very fast, but don't worry about stopping me or interrupting me. Okay, so this is the part that I really want to focus on for 124 family. So this part is regarding the survey and the affidavit of the survey. So what we used to call is the T47 affidavit of the survey affidavit. However, it's adding a new form called the T47.1, which is a declaration. The difference between affidavit and declaration is, to me, my understanding is the affidavit is something that you know that this person signs it. You basically if you're lying, you're under perjury. You're saying that this is me, I'm signing this. You have to notarize the document. However, 47 the declaration, the word declaration is that, okay, I'm just saying that I'm doing this. It doesn't, like, even though it still has kind of a law consequences, but it's a little bit softer than the affidavit, and it does not require notary. How many of you have run into the situation that your sellers just won't be able to go to a bank, or they don't know how to do the notarization on the T47? I've run into it. The seller just, I don't know how to do it. What to do notary? I have nowhere. I don't know how to drive. There's so many people. There's so many reasons that they cannot do the notary. And guess what? If you don't have, there's a timeline. Oh, how many days? Okay, effective date. A lot of my agents saying, okay, I gave them the survey, but did you give them the T47? If you don't provide a survey, that's fine. You select another, this is one, and there's 2, 3, and there are different choices. If you select 2 or 3, saying, hey, I am not providing, as the seller, I'm not providing the survey, that's fine. You don't have to do this. However, if you're providing the survey, you have to provide the T47. Some people didn't know that. A lot of the agents, they just like, oh, I gave them the survey. Did you give them the T47? If you didn't, then the buyer can come back and say, I can terminate because you did not fulfill your requirements. So the seller you're putting your client in jeopardy, because the buyer can terminate at any time and say, okay, I still get my earnings money back because you failed to satisfy the requirements of the contract first, because there's certain date and time you have to meet. However, with the T47.1, so I'm just going to say it here. We'll look at the form later. The difference between the T47 and T47.1 is mainly about notarization. T47 requires notarized signatures, and T47.1 does not. You can do e-sign. That is the huge difference, and that is huge. You don't have to do anything. You can just put T47.1 in your form, send it to your buyers, seller to sign as they sign the listing agreement or whatever, and then you're done. Just ask them to provide the survey, and you're done. Yes.
So the survey is important because the title company accepts the survey
True.
from the lender.
True. True.
So if it doesn't, the title company or the lender doesn't accept it, get it. So that's perfect.
Yes, that's very true. So when we get to T47, we're gonna look at the date, and actually the date, that's another change on the T47. The date is very important. Like Galvin said, by the way, anyone not know Galvin? Galvin is our long-term partner on lending side. So he's a lender. What's your company again right now? What's your lending company again? What's United Mortgage. United Mortgage. So what he says is true and very important. It's regarding the title, whether the title will accept the survey or not. One of the reasons why, there are many reasons why you have to do T47. One of the reasons is that the T47 has a date that you will say, the seller will kind of either declare or, like certify, saying, this is the survey. I have not done anything after the survey was done, or I have done, I know about the survey, or I don't know about the survey since this date. So that's important, and so that the title can decide whether they can accept the survey as a part of the title policy or not. Because as a part of the title policy and title commitment, it has to include the survey. And I'm not sure in Texas, could title company do a title policy, issue a title policy without a survey? Do you know,
I don't
Alvin?
think so.
You have to have a survey,
Yeah,
right?
you have to have a survey under general.
Okay, yeah, but if you're not using a loan, yeah, if you're a cash buyer,
She said the title company didn't get any survey.
okay, okay. Okay, so the lender absolutely requires it. However, I know, I think I've heard that too, that if you're a cash buyer and certain title company, not all the title company, I think some title companies still require a survey if it's a cash buyer, but some title companies may not. It depends. So some of you may or may not know that title companies are actually an insurance company. They're actually agencies for insurance companies. They are issuing a title policy, which is the insurance on your title. So basically, if they say, I'm issuing this title policy to this title, these are documents I require, and a survey usually is required. However, I know that maybe, I actually have heard that too. Some title company, because if they do a lot of wholesaling or maybe even commercial sometimes, I don't know about, I'm not exactly 100% sure about commercial, that they may say it's okay, we don't have to have this. However, I know that most of title company will require that. So let's just say that it's required and everybody has to have a survey, and T47 is the document to certify, what's has been changed since the date of the survey. And the T47.1 is the one that the seller can sign electronically. However, there's one difference. When we get there, I'll go through those changes quickly. And now I'm just going to say it. The T47.1 is requiring a birth date. So the only reason why, and Brian also said the same thing, that's my understanding too, that the only reason why you wouldn't want to use T47.1 and you have to use T47 is when the seller refused to give out their birthday. So that it's only one person. You can just put one birthday there, but you have to sign. You have to be the person who's signing it. Um, you never know. Sometimes the seller say, "Hey, I look like I'm 20. I just don't want you to know that I'm 60." So they may not give you the birth date. Then they have to go notarize the T47. Any questions on this?
The surveys are running what, about 60 right
It
now?
depends. Yeah, for normal residential lot, 650, 700, I've seen 750, 800, I've seen some a little bit louder, bigger lots. They're getting more and more expensive. I mean, yeah. So if think of,
Expensive. A little bit high.
yes, yes. It's usually the expenses for the buyers. However, sometimes it's the expenses on the seller side, because I actually have run into so many sellers, they don't have a survey. They're like, oh, I can't find it. It's more common than you think. The sellers just cannot find their survey, which means you gotta do one. You gotta pay for it. If you provide the existing survey and the buyer is not happy with it or the title doesn't expect it, they have to pay for it. However, if the seller just doesn't have it, then either sometimes we price it also depends on pricing, right? You price a property a little bit lower than market, and you can say we don't have, seller doesn't have a survey, we require buyer to pay for a survey, and that kind of just puts a little bit um, kind of make the property at a lower value proposition. But if you have everything, okay, if you get the seller, if you want to, I tell my seller, if you want to sell your property at the top dollar, you got to have everything ready. You got to have all your seller's disclosures, all your surveys. You pay that $600, $700 to do the survey, and then you have all your roof replacements receipt, everything, and then you can sell for the top dollar. But if you just say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, from the buyer's side, they're thinking that, oh, you're not taking care of the house, so you're not going to sell the top dollar, I'm going to undercut your price. So if you want if once you start negotiating, it's not $500, $600, $700. It's about $7,000 or $70,000 you're talking about. So you have to kind of weigh which one is more important to you. Any questions? No? Okay. Any questions online? Sorry, Daniel. Okay. All right, next. Let's move this. Oh, actually, he went into this first. I thought he was going down 240. Sorry, 124 probably. So okay, I already talked about this. This is a date. There's a date. The new date here. It used to be the date is actually underneath in one of the paragraphs. Now he's putting it on the top because nobody uses the name of the title company anymore. Nobody remembers what the title company was before. So it's just they changed that, and then they added the date of birth. 247, T47. What? I can't find that little. Oh, maybe this is the end. Okay. Okay, so now let's go to the last one. Did I open it? Okay, let's open this. Okay, yeah, that was the end. So this is continuing on from the previous slide. Yeah, so there's to insert a date, and nowadays have identification changes. Yeah, so this is just what I just talked about. Other changes. Yeah, there's some wording changes. These are just some wording changes. It's not bad. Okay, the new form does not need to be notarized. We're to talk about that. Basically, these are yeah, still made under penalty of perjury. So you still have to state the truth. Just because it's no electronically signed doesn't mean you can lie about it. So it's just e-signatures. Just make it easier for everyone. All right, that was T47 and the paragraph 4. Any questions regarding paragraph 4 and T47? If not, then this is paragraph 6. Okay, so this is also regarding the survey. May regarding maintain. So this is number 2. Earlier it was number 1, and now this is number 2, also under paragraph 6C. Yeah, so this is just adding a kind of an explanation. This is the same. We've been doing this before. It's just to explain it a little bit clearer, saying if buyer fails to pay, the survey may not terminate. They can't just say that, oh, I don't have a survey, so I terminate. But if the buyer already said, I'm going to get the survey, then they cannot terminate because they didn't get a survey. See what I mean? The buyer. So this choice means that the buyer is getting the survey. So I'm the buyer. I say I'm going to get the survey. But if I didn't get the survey, I cannot terminate because I didn't get the survey. Make sense? I know it sounds like tongue twister. Basically, it's saying that if I agreed to get the survey, I have to get the survey, or I cannot terminate because of this reason. I can terminate with other reasons, but I cannot terminate because I didn't do what I wanted, what I promised to do. So they basically add this line there. Oh yeah, this is just separating the points and saying just what I just said. Any questions? Did I explain it? Okay, did you get what it was saying? Okay. No, it's this is about notices. Yeah, basically it used to be, I don't know if you remember, there used to be saying that these are the notices, blah, 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 but right now it's basically deleting everything, just saying you have to provide these. If you don't provide, then the buyer has right to terminate. Because when you sign the contract, sometimes you don't know, you can't put it there. A lot of time people just leave it blank because I don't know. No, the buyer cannot, they don't know what they don't know, right? The seller basically has to provide when they get it. Sometimes seller doesn't know either, and the title will find out. And then when we go through the option period, that's when you find out all these things. So they made this change so that it's easier for everyone. You don't know what you don't know. Okay, so this is really important. This is one of the most important changes that came into this round of um, editing or changes. I don't know if you remember that last year there are so many forms came out. Oh my gosh, there's at least 12, like at least a dozen forms came out regarding just to comply with an AR changes on the commission. Because just the commission changes, there are like a dozen forms. Okay, they're making it easier for everyone. They're trying, at least from Brian saying that we don't know if we're doing this right or wrong, but we're trying to make it easier for everyone. And there will be more changes. So the the reason why they put it in here is because there used to be so many forms about who pays whom, right? Because it used to be easy. This seller agrees to pay for everyone, and then they put it on MLS. Everybody already knows. You don't have to negotiate. You don't have to put it. You don't have to put it anywhere. You just go with the MLS. Right now, one, you cannot put it on MLS. Two, you have to negotiate on everything, and even before showing. It's ridiculous, but my personal opinion, however, we have to do that. So what they did here is they put this commission. It used to be the commission is outside the contract. I don't know if you remember, the contract basically is just between seller and buyer. And then the commission is basically between the buyer's agent or broker and the seller's broker. So the seller's broker has a separate agreement with the buyer's broker to talk about a commission. It's not even part of the contract. And now they're putting this here. This is part of the contract now. Now the buyer and seller have to agree this is what's paid to the buyer's agent. You can say no, you don't have to pay the buyer's agent. Yeah, you don't have to pay the buyer's agent, and the buyer agent has to pay. Sorry, the buyer has to pay the buyer agent commission, but it's all here. It's actually more transparent. It's, there are good things and bad things about it. I know that some especially some Asian agents that would like to kind of negotiate with our seller buyers on the buyer's side, we keep it secret, nobody knows, and we may give a little bit rebate or we may not get a rebate, that nobody knows, right? Right now you have to put it here. It's transparent. Everybody has to agree, buyer has to agree, seller has to agree. I think it's easier. Personally, I think this is better. This is the best. You just put it out there and tell your clients, I'm sorry, I can't give you a rebate. Or, okay, I'll give you a rebate, but we have to write it down here. We got to be transparent. It's required on the contract. Seller has to know, you have to know, a seller knows how much you gave me or I gave you, and seller is agreeing that he's paying this or not, right? So make it clear from the very beginning. And that should have been the rule anyway. I mean, for all our agents, I tell everyone, because we have some clients who really like to negotiate before closing. I said, don't do that. You're setting up for failure. If you know this client, or if you don't know, whatever situation is, talk about your commission up front. Don't wait until before closing, 2 days before closing, and talk about, come on in, Jennifer. Hi, good to see you. Yeah. Come on in. So talk about it up front, even before, even when it's not part of the contract. negotiate with your client upfront. Don't spend 2 months of time to go shopping around and finally sign the contract and before closing, and it turned out that the client is expecting you to give rebate and you feel like I have to spend so much time, I don't want to give rebate. And then you leave that, really bad taste to your client's mouth. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. The clients will never think it was their fault. They always think it's your fault. So always be upfront and be clear. And now guess what? It's here. You got to put it in. You got to put a number. Buyer pays or not. How much they pay. And this is transparent to everyone. Sounds good? Very easy paragraph. I think it's just clear. Buyer pay or not? Who pays? How much? So put it there. If you have questions, we can discuss later. Or do you have questions? If not, then I think questions will come when you get to real life scenarios. Right now, this is so new that we haven't really run into any lifetime scenarios yet. So no questions is understandable. Right. Okay, so this little paragraph here is basically saying seller will pay blah, 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 or seller will not pay blah, blah, blah. So this is telling the seller what the obligations for the seller, but this does not include, does not apply to the buyer's broker fee paid by the listing agent, which is the listing broker. This is really confusing. At the time when I was listening to him, I was like, this is really confusing. Why do you even say it? So the reason is that the listing broker could have already agreed with the seller that I'm going to split my agent fee with the other agent, with the other broker. If that's the case, you still need a separate agreement with the seller, with the listing broker. This will obligate the seller to pay you. So the best case scenario, I don't think it will happen, but it could happen that you can ask the seller to pay you and then ask the listing agent to pay you. You get double paid. You could, but I don't think it will happen. You just have to make sure that everybody understand how much you get paid and where it's coming from. It's more work for us to do. However, it's actually better, I think. Just be clear upfront. Do not wait until the closing date to figure that out. Figure it out before you submit the offer. Questions? Yes. Yeah. Yes. I know. So basically, seller shall pay all of these. However, if the buyer already agreed to pay this, then buyer also needs to pay part of it. So for example, if the seller shall pay all these fees. So remember, broker fee here is added, it's new. It used to be there's no broker fee, which means that the seller will only pay for the closing cost without the broker fee on the contract. However, in the end, the seller still pays broker fee because they have a separate broker representation agreement, and that's a separate contract. Now they're putting everything in here.
You seller pay the percentage, but that buyer has agreed. That's talking about the buyer representative agreement. So,
Correct.
so this part still seller pay, not mean buyer pay over here. So if seller need to pay like 3% to buyer's agent and need to put it over here, like 3%.
It's an option.
Yeah.
It's not filled in, so you
Right.
can fill zero.
Yeah.
Put zero.
Right. So you can put 0. So for our case, when the seller pays everything, you just put 0 there.
I think I talked to,
Did you?
I talked to our EXP broker regarding this part. And
Recently.
recently. And they told me I need to choose 12(1)(b). Put the number over there.
Yeah, you,
And-
you can put 0.
No. 3%. That's very confusing. That's one time I talked to FP World and regarding.
Oh yeah, you can put 3%. You want to put 3%, but you can put 0. So that's what the Godwin is saying. You could put 0, but you want to put 3% because no matter what, you want to get 3%, right? That means that if seller doesn't pay, the buyer will pay 3%. This is from your buyer rep agreement. So I hope everyone will sign 3% or 5% maybe from your buyer rep agreement. So this basically is copying here from your buyer rep agreement. Whatever you signed on the buyer rep agreement, you put it here. Seller.
For example, it's 3%.
Correct.
So it will be seller pay the buyer's agent directly.
No. So what this is said, so for example, if I have a client who's really generous, they agreed to pay 5% here, right? So I put 5% here. That means I have talked to my buyers that they agreed to pay me 5%. However, seller does not have to pay 5%. Seller may say, I only pay 3%. The other 2% is buyer pay.
But seller will pay person to buyer's agent. Where is that 3% go?
3% is over here. Amount not to seat. How many here? To other buyers' expenses. Apply. Here. Other. So all of these is part of the closing cost to the seller. So this is all the broker fees right now. Yes. So you gotta apply both, all three, ABC. They are all part of the expenses from sellers.
I can see actually 0 from buyer won't pay. And then I could see times the 3% times the sales price, that's the amount. I could over see, right? If it's all seller, it's only seller pay.
Yeah, because, A, B, and C are all optional, right? So.
I know it's optional, but during the final contract, we need to have a number.
Right.
Recently, I have a listing, closed listing. I'm very confused because we just keep talking to buyer's agent regarding which contract we need to fill.
Yeah.
And then I remember, but that one closed at the end of December, so I don't know if this contract, we didn't use the new contract, but I talked to EXP broker, and they told me, I think there's a place, they told me I don't need to have additional broker agreement or something. We just put the 3%, but here, that, I'm still very confused.
So after class, what we can do is actually go to the broker.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go to broker. So what I learned from Brian basically says that you need to reflect what's on your buyer rep agreement here. This is basically like a disclosure, sort of like a disclosure. This does not mean that the seller will have to pay for this. This is only saying that buyer has agreed to pay. They have agreed to pay this amount. This is basically a reflection of what you have agreed with the buyer agent and buyer agent fee from your buyer rep agreement. To me, it's like a disclosure. I would put 3%, yes. Yeah.
If I'm going to get 3% and seller will pay me, so I'll put 3% and fee.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Question.
Yes.
If buyer agrees to pay 5% and seller agrees to pay another 3%, do I get 8% out of it?
No way, never happened.
No. So the buyer rep agreement, so maybe, yeah, after this, maybe we'll find a time to do the buyer rep agreement again. Buyer rep agreement is not changing in this round of changes, but what it says is that the buyer will agree to pay for 5%. However, the agent will pursue the seller first for the seller to pay part or portion or whole about that number. If seller doesn't pay, whatever the seller doesn't pay, the buyer will pay. So if the seller agrees 3%, then the buyer will just pay the difference. That's from your buyer rep agreement.
So that's when you can actually get 3%. Seller and 3%.
Right. So you could, if you're good, you could get 6%. Yeah.
But I think this is up that. So you see number one, A, it releases the seller to pay any of these. Basically, on the MLS, you'll see that some of the seller is saying that they're not paying any fees. They're paying 0. So what you'll have to do is on B, collect it from the buyer. Right? From the buyer, say, okay, you can say, 3% for the buyer to pay.
No, I don't think so.
No.
If you put 3 here, it's seller here. If you put 0 here,
No,
buyer
it says,
pays.
see on there, it says the buyer has agreed to pay.
No, but see the one above it, seller shall pay at seller's expense. And then this is just mentioned, how much amount, you and buyer agree.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's very important, because if you put 0 here, you got nothing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This doesn't know whatever.
Yeah, this should come from your buyer rep
Yeah.
agreement. So that's the bottom line, is that my understanding is that whatever you signed up, whatever you have agreed
Yeah.
on the buyer rep agreement, you should put it here.
No, seller agree. Yeah. If seller doesn't agree, you cannot put 3%. This is whatever seller agree to pay you. Either you have agreement.
Say the seller agreed to pay 2%.
Okay, yes.
Also, then just put 2, and then the rest is gonna be paid.
If you can get it from buyer, you're even.
It is very confusing. So
And is buyer obligated to pay if our buyer tenant rep is showing, like, say 3%, and then the seller is only agreeing to pay 2%? The other 1%, is the buyer obligated to pay?
they are obligated to pay.
If you sue.
Yes. Yeah. If they don't pay, you have a choice to sue them or just let it go.
But then it's up to my broker to.
It's up to your broker. Yes. Yes. Mhm. But very good question. Yeah. So it's very confusing. But my understanding, again, true. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. Yes, you're right. So you can put 0, but you don't want to, because that's what if you had. So we had that training last year about the buyer rep agreement. Some people say, oh, we want the seller to pay, and the buyer doesn't want to pay. The buyer doesn't agree to pay, or they just don't have money to pay, and we want to put 0 there. I think for a while we were confused. Some people did that anyway, but the seller paid anyway. It was just really confusing last year. The whole second year, half of the year, we just did whatever worked out.
So, say one of the seller agrees to pay 5%,
Mhm.
but I signed the buyer's rep for 3%.
You get 3%.
No more than.
Yeah.
No more than.
Yeah, you only get 3. So you always make sure that you sign the maximum amount you want to receive on the buyer rep. You can amend, yes, you can amend, yeah, you can amend, but you make sure that it's reflected on the contract now. It used to be it's not part of the contract, then you can amend it all day long, all the way to the closing. But now it's part of the contract, you can't do that anymore. I mean, this will be binding to both seller and buyer. This is the most important one right now. It used to be we are amending. Yeah.
Hey,
Not a-
Teresa,
I
I
mean,
had a
you can-
comment.
Tim?
Go ahead, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had this issues last time when I do the
on.
contract and I sent a question to the Republic title,
Say it again.
and the Tracy from Republic title told me if the buyer want to pay the seller or the listing agent commission, then we put it here, not our
Seller?
commission.
Seller's commission?
Yes.
Seller agent commission?
Yes. Because
You
I
put
was in the
seller
contract that the seller or the listing agent did not get any pay from the seller. And the listing agent asked the buyer's side to pay. So if the buyer agreed to pay the listing agent commissions, then we put it here. This is not for the buyer to put down the percentage that buyer want to pay us. Is to pay the buyer agent, is to pay the listing agent according to the Republic title.
Oh, I see what you mean. But that could be true too. I'm confused now. That's a very good point. So,
So in any events, for my case, because the buyer have to pay, or the buyer wants to pay me as well as the listing agents. So the portion that we want to pay the listing agent, we put it here. And the portion that the buyer wants to pay me, we put in the buyer's wrap. And the buyer's wrap never sent to the listing agents.
wait, so are you, what number did you put in there? What number did you put in B? In your
this case,
case,
the
if buyer,
listing agent asked for 2%, so I put down 2%. Oh, that's what the Republic title said.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because either way, that's wrong. If the seller, if the buyer has agreed to pay both side of agents, this would be yeah, total. Yeah, exactly. Total amount, 5 per 2 plus 3. Yes.
But I don't know, Tracy told me the total we put in the buyer's wrap.
It's okay. Yeah, I think everybody is trying to learn. Maybe that's what Tracy is thinking right now.
Okay.
Actually, the broker lawyer committee, they are also trying to figure it out. I think from Brian's point of view at the time, Brian is this person on the picture here, Tim. I don't know if you
Right.
can see the screen. Okay, so I'm just, like I said, I'm just transferring all the knowledge from Brian to you all right now. But that's a very good question, and that's a very good case study because we never run into this before, right? But it happens, right? You can say that never happens. It literally happened to Tim. So the buyer would agree to pay for everything. My understanding of this paragraph is that I would put both here for buyer and seller agent commission, because that is part of the, so Tim, let me ask you this. Did you have to amend the buyer rep agreement to say that the buyer will pay buyer rep and the listing agent fee?
Yes, basically on the wrap, I need to put down the totals. On this
Yes.
contract, I only put
Yes.
down the portion that we pay the listing agent.
Yeah. So if you put the total on the buyer rep agreement, this place should have the total too. I think this should be be consistent with the buyer rep agreement, because this is what this says is the basically it says that seller shall pay blah blah blah. Buyer has agreed to pay means that buyer has agreed on the buyer rep agreement. You see what I mean? So this line here, buyer has agreed to pay where buyer rep agreement. So this information should be coming from the buyer rep agreement. See what I mean? Otherwise, where do you has agreed to? If your buyer has agreed to pay for both, why not show up here?
Okay. I'm just relaying the information I got from Republic title.
Thank you, thank you. I think everybody's confused, but I appreciate the input. I think that's something we can consider. However, I think the safer route, if I were reading this and doing the contract myself, the safer route is to put the buyer rep agreement number here. That's my understanding. But hey, as long as, again, that's the beauty of real estate contracts. It's really about everybody agrees to do something. As long as you all agree, as long as the buyer agrees, the seller agrees, and you agree, the listing agent broker, you all agree to do something and you did it, there's no dispute, then this contract doesn't mean anything. It could be wrong to the end of time, but as long as you all settled at an agreement that you all understood each other, that's fine.
Teresa, I also have a question on this screen. The top bullet, paragraph 12A1B, it doesn't, if you look into the contract, it doesn't say seller agreed to pay the amount. So is that a typo?
Let me see. Hold on, I think I moved him. Oh, wait a minute. I thought I had moved this picture somewhere else so that I can see the top line there.
The first bullet, you say paragraph 12A1B, seller agrees to pay, but in the contract, 12A1B is the following amount to be applied. So there is some inconsistency in this this screen here.
Yeah, I think that's buyer over there. The buyer. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's buyer. Unfortunately, it got blocked by his picture. So let's read this together. Read is important. Okay. Daniel, did you want to say something?
No, I think any questions, like second opinion, right? If the title company is saying one thing, I would always go back to the EXP world, talking to brokers, just make sure that they're broker, or add, if you have Karen Richards, add another broker just to have two broker opinions, just make sure that they both.
Right.
Because they're teaching this every week.
Yeah.
On the EXP world.
Right.
To be consistent for updates, that's what I would do, because once we have confusion, it confuses the whole class too.
True.
So, especially when it's pinpointing like what needs to be.
Right. So this is very important. I'm glad that we have all these questions. And Tim, thank you so much for your input. I think we need to go to our broker to do another training. Just ask about this. I think we need one more training. And there is a video. I actually talked to Karen already. I know you talked to her too. And she actually told me there is a video on.
If we have time, we can actually go into the world, talk to the broker.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do it now. Yeah.
Are we done?
I think. Okay. So let's.
Teresa, before we move away from this screen, I also had a question on the chat, but nobody seemed to monitor the chat. So when you talk about putting the rebate to the clients, where do we put that rebate on the contracts?
Right now, you actually have to deduct the rebate from it and put it here. My understanding, that's why I said that this is helping us to put it upfront and transparent to everyone, is that if you are, for example, for the worst case scenario, you're giving 1%, you're giving 2% to your clients, and then you get 1%, right? And that's what you agreed. That should have happened already before this and on the buyer rep agreement. If on the buyer rep agreement you put 1%, then you should put 1% here, my understanding. But if your buyer rep has 3%, you put 3%.
Well, no. We are talking about the agent rebate X percentage back to the client. So where do we put that on the contract?
Nowhere.
Okay.
Unless you reflect it here. So if you're going, like I said, if you want to reflect in the contract, you gotta reflect it here. So
Right.
if you buy
Here is where? In
here,
which paragraph? You
12,
say here mean where? Where
One.
is here?
12A1B.
No, but 12A1B is buyer agree to pay, not the agent agree to pay.
Oh,
In this contract.
okay. You can't, right? I don't think you can put it in a contract.
Okay, but yeah, because previously you said that we should put it here to make it clear. Usually we put in the CDA, but I don't see anywhere in the contract that we say Timothy will pay 1% back to my clients, right? I don't see anywhere that we would say that.
Right, you're right. Yeah, I misspoke. I meant that you make it clear to yourself and your client. It doesn't mean that you can write there. You're right. You can write it here. You cannot write it in the contract. The contract only writes the numbers that seller will pay you or buyer will pay you. You see?
Apply to other buyers. So seller won't pay you rebate. No way, as long as seller know there's a rebate, he won't pay.
Right. You won't pay.
From
Yeah.
now on, set out the new standard.
Yeah.
No rebate.
Right. Right.
Ask for the second. Put it on the second.
CDA, right?
Yeah. Yes, both. You two are talking about the same thing. So you provide CDA, you put it in the settlement statement, basically. So this is existing. The reason why it's not blue, it's not red, is existing. I don't know if you remember this. We used to, do you remember what we put here? We put repairs. So there is an amendment that's saying that this used to be B, I think. We say 12A1B number is on the amendment saying this is after inspection. We say, okay, the seller will pay the buyer another $8,000 to fix, the chimney, whatever. So this number, it used to be for repairs, and that applies to the closing cost on the buyer side. No, it's just 12A1C, A1B. Special provision is probably paragraph 16. I think it's just a separate paragraph. Yeah. But Tim, very good question. Very, very good questions. Let's go back to the rebate. I agree. We shouldn't give rebate from this moment on. We'll just say that we don't give rebate. However,
Find someone if discount is rebate.
Yeah. Right. So I highly recommend not to give a rebate. If you have to go give rebate, we cannot put it in a contract. Nowhere in the contract you can put it. Nowhere you can put it in a contract. Yeah, and you could put it in the end, as long as your broker agrees, you agree, your client agree, and the title company agrees. You can put it in a CDA and reflect it on the final statement. Legally, you are allowed to give credit back to your client. Yes, it's legally allowed. Yeah, as long as all parties agree. The important thing is about your broker, your buyer, you and your title company. Oh, and make sure that the builder, if you're working on a new constructions, I've run into builders, they will not let you put it on the final statement. So the closing statement, they will not do that for you. You have to do it outside closing if you want to do it. I highly recommend against it. Do not do it. However, I understand in situations that You may have to do it. If you do it, make sure that you know that every party involved is clear about it and when and where and how much you're going to do it.
And, okay, the rebate can go to its closing costs and all the fees, right? Can it go directly to the client's pocket? Like, say I'm giving 2% rebate to you as my buyer, right?
So that gets really messy. I'm going to say it really quickly, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. It's just because it really depends. The short answer is depends. The long answer is that there are situations that you cannot do that, especially when you want to put it on the closing statement. The best scenario is that it's okay. You put it on the closing statement. It goes into the calculation of how much buyer will bring. That's clear to everyone. They don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about that. That's it. The messier way is that, for example, the builder won't put it in there, or it's too much for the lender to allow. Then you have to do it after the closing. Then it gets really hairy because your broker may not agree to that, and then you have to pay tax on it, or your client has to. So that gets really complicated. We'll talk about that later. Sounds good? Any more questions? Tim? I feel like Tim has a lot of questions. But Tim, thank you for your questions. Very good questions. Any more questions? Okay, I'm going to go through this really quickly because it's already 11:13. I want to finish by 11:30. I'm just going to go through the rest of the slides really quickly, and then we'll go to Universal EXP World. I was about to do Universal Studio. Okay. Buyer expenses. Yeah, it's not contractually in the terms of the contract. It used to be no. There's no terms in the contract to specify the broker fees, and now it's all in the contract. Oh, this is the foreign person thing, but we'll go through this later. This is small, very small changes. We're not gonna talk about 1031 exchange. That's another topic we'll talk later. Broker information disclosure. Yeah, they just made some wording changes also about the broker fees. Paid by the listing broker not to. Okay, so they're separate. The listing broker agrees to pay the buyer broker, and the seller has to agree to pay, and those amounts need to be separately specified. Huh? Okay, this one I want to touch on the topic really quickly, is that this paragraph is super important. If you are working on any land deals, unimproved land, lots, bigger land, sometimes we use the unimproved property contract just because there's nothing on it. However, it used to be the farm and ranch contract. Only the farm and ranch contract has this paragraph, and there are a lot of times that I use the farm and ranch contract on an unimproved property just because I want to use this paragraph. It actually specifies, allows the both buyer and seller to adjust the price based on the actual survey about the area. Sometimes if it's a very expensive land, and even maybe 0.1 acre would result in tens of thousands of dollars. And think about it. Right now, 1 acre is about 150,000. Sometimes 1 acre land will sell for $200,000, right? Then if you have only a 0.1%, that's $20,000. So it makes a difference. But for smaller lots, this used to be used for smaller lots, like residential lots or commercial lots, whatever, really small, then you probably don't need it because it's small and it's cheaper. But sometimes, right now, actually in our areas, even smaller lots can be expensive. And this makes a difference. That's why they put it in. They should have put this in years ago. Anyway, so this is important to make sure that you can, what you need to know right now is that you can use the unimproved property contract to do this now. It used to be you can't. You have to use the farm and ranch contract. Yeah, it's the same. It get. Oh, it adds. Sorry, my farm and ranch added a paragraph about the agricultural thing. It's we don't really use it very often, so we'll get to that later. Addenda, other forms. I think this is just some grammar changes. It's not that bad. Again, yeah, this is also regarding the broker fee that they changed. They changed number. Remember this one? This is the addendum. Remember I said the addendum that there used to be a 120A1B, but now it's 120A1C because that's the repair that we usually put in there. So they just changed that. All right, we're not going to talk about
But now it's gone.
It's there. So it used to be B. It used to be 12A1B. Now it's 12A1C. It's still the same. Yeah. Sorry, it changes from B to C. So I'm not gonna talk about anything regarding third-party financing. We'll do that in a separate training. Oh, this is part of the changes of the backup contract. We'll talk about that later. We'll have a separate training on. All right, that's it. That's the end. Conclusion, read. read. Okay, now we get to the world.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna. I'll leave it there. Okay, yeah.
So if you want more education on contracts, 1:30 today, EXP.
Oh, yeah, she has a training too. Oh, you want to use this?
No, I just wanted to change the, let's see. To perfect, okay. So 1:30 today, they do have a contract class training on the world. So when you come in here, you're gonna pull a question, and I need a broker assistant. So once they're ready, they'll pull me over. So once they're ready, they'll pull me over. So just give it a second. Let me make sure the Zoom attendees hear the sound. So it's going in there. They're going in here.
Thank you, Daniel.
No problem. I'm still learning, updating the system. So.
World. Anyone has been to the world? You have to.
Yeah. So for those that haven't been into the EXP world, this is how we operate. So when you need to talk to a broker or ask questions, this is where they're at. So it looks like Melissa Cruz and Christina Bull, anyone that says MB, they're managing brokers. They're here waiting for you. So they're in a class. They're in their little private box talking to each other live. So in a minute, when the broker's ready and they pull me over, we're gonna go over that 12.1B.
Yeah.
Is that the contract?
A1.
Yeah. So the broker will pull up a screen and kind of go over that with you, so you can ask those questions. So.
A1, ABC.
Yeah.
There's 3 questions.
I know I cannot walk in the world anymore. I used to be walk to any corner, but right now.
It's okay.
Yeah, right now I cannot walk in the world. I just like stand here and wait for.
So I use the arrow key, and you got to use Chrome. So make sure you're using
Yeah,
Chrome.
that's what I did.
So they just added some features where you can actually, it's actually using your camera looking at me. So my mouth is actually moving if they see me, and I actually can raise my hand. So so it's switched.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know, because I used to be,
So if I raise my hand,
I always walk.
see?
yeah.
So this is new. This is kind of cool. And the other person on the other side can see my lips moving. So let me see if it's doing anything.
Just
Okay,
raise hand.
that's good.
That's-
Yeah, I'll try, because I just stand there and wait
Anyways,
for them
Yeah,
to
and
pull me.
the tech guys are always improving it, so just know that, you know,
Yeah,
you can
this
do
is
thumbs up.
very good
Thumbs up.
platform. We should use that.
Okay, so that gives you like a clap or like little emojis. So,
Yeah, because Julie was my mentor, and I always call her. She's busy and she won't answer, so I just go here. And when she answers, I already got the answer.
let's go back over here.
Yeah, here, there's always someone waiting for you.
Yeah.
One here. Go ahead and click on that other link I sent you. It's the events calendar.
Okay.
Yep, and then if you just click on that, you can register for, there's a bunch of different ones happening.
Today at, okay, that's at 7 to 9. I missed that. 10 a.m. Looks like I missed that. There's one at 12. Okay, I'll register for that one.
Yep, so if you want to go ahead and then, yeah, if you just do that and then definitely check your email and then they will send you a link because it does look like they'll be sending you a Google link on that.
All right. I do thank you. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome. And today here in Texas, every Thursday at 1:30, we do have a contract class that happens, and that's 1:30 Central Time, just so you're aware.
It's in the broker room.
Yep, it's in the broker room, right in the Texas auditorium over there, second door to your right.
Well,
Or
I'll
your
come
left,
back.
I mean, your left, my right.
This
Um,
afternoon is.
But yes, it's in
inclusive
the
right to
Texas
sell.
Auditorium, 1:30
This
Central
afternoon is
Time. It's a
inclusive right to
contract class. Every week they go over a different contract, so it's super helpful.
Yeah, so on
All
Thursday,
right, I'll come back
1:30.
around that time. I appreciate it. Thank
So-
you.
Wonderful, you
just-
are so welcome.
So that's why we have
Drop
to
in
learn.
anytime if you have any
I mean, you
questions.
can watch it
All
together,
right.
but
Bye-bye.
you know, but everyone should be able to. I think the focus for our group right now is focus on certain things so we can help.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Texas Broker Room. If you are here to speak to a broker or transactions, please go ahead and click on the I have a question for me on the top of your screen, and they'll be with you in just a moment here. Thank you so much for your patience. I know we've been pretty busy this morning.
Yeah, that's why we're waiting.
Hi, Joseph. How can I help you?
Yeah, for contracts, do I just go, or for contract support, do I go to expert care desk?
Do you have you have a question on your transactions?
Yeah, just helping me fill out this contract and what I need for the addendums.
Okay, do you need advice on it, or are you more uploading on SkySlope?
It sounds like
I'd like-
a broker question for Joseph.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you're gonna want to talk to a broker on that. So go ahead and click on the I have a question, then broker assistance.
Okay.
And then they'll be with you here in just a moment as soon as they can. I know they have they're pretty busy today, which is good. But they'll
Holly,
be with you as soon as they can here.
thank you.
You're
Holly.
welcome. Hi, William. How can I help you?
Hi, I don't know if this is a question for a broker, but I'm trying to leave EXP, and I was sent here from like the main people or whatever. I just need to know if that's a broker question or where I need to go for that.
Okay, in order to do that per the ICA, what you need to do is what you'll want to do is send us an email, so we do have it in writing, to the broker email address, and then our onboarding team or our offboarding team will reach out to you. Do you have our broker email address?
No, if you can,
Okay, yes, I can get that to you. I'll drop it right in the chat for you here.
okay.
Yep, so that's just what you'll need to do, and then our offboarding team will reach out to you. We just have to have it in writing per the ICA.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry to hear you go, William.
Well, I don't want to. The thing is, I'm trying to join a team with like the downline, and it was explained to me that I have to leave for 6 months or something. So
Okay.
that's what's happening. So yeah,
Okay,
I mean, I'll be back, but
all right.
Yes, and when you're ready to come back,
So is that supposed to happen?
just let
So
us
teams
know
are
and come
pulling
back in
people
here
from each
and give
other?
us a call, and then
Very
we
good.
can get you onboarded right away.
cool.
They're busy today, so we'll
Thank
just
you.
wait.
And then I'm just gonna drop this in the chat box for you
So you
here.
kind of see how busy Holly gets.
There you
she's
go.
She's an admin, helping everyone just come into the Texas broker room, as if you're going to physical office where you need to go, guide you. So, you know, and the other brokers that you didn't see people in that box, guess what? They're probably on the phone talking to agents because we do have a phone number and they'll pick up the calls there. So just depending how busy today's Thursday, probably, which is good because that people have questions on their contracts. So usually it doesn't take this long, but you know, then again, everyone it's getting busy. That means contracts are happening, people are asking questions. So and then whoever's online, Tim, if you have that question, you want to relay that information, you can hop into the broker room and ask that same question. So if you find the answer and it's, you know, it's from the EXP broker room and, you know, maybe have them write it, you know, so you can just copy and paste. Like, hey, can you put that in chat? Copy paste. It's easier. So it doesn't create any confusion. Or screen record when you're in there. You know, those are options. So do you want to continue to wait, Teresa, since they haven't pulled this over?
I think
I can leave it here and then we can still talk first.
yeah, I was gonna say we'll call it the like call it a day. We'll just finish our formal training today. We usually run it from 10 to 11:30. Hopefully end in time so that people, if you are busy with other things, you can just leave. But I will stay here for until 12. If you have questions, we can talk offline.